Hello and welcome to Game Changer Live. We were created to inspire with topics around coaching, positivity, fighting perfection and mindset, and so much more. We go live because live means the most authentic and unedited version of ourselves so that you get to see who we really are, so that you know who you'd be working with. We go live every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we bring on guests on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month. Our motto for this channel is Together We Inspired. So let's get inspired today with my guest, Karen Rudolf. Karen is a four-time #1 international best-selling author. She's a speaker, a spiritual healer, a nurse, and a coach. And she specializes in heart-based mind shift coaching and has created a model for well-being and wellness in mind, body, heart, and spirit. Karen, thank you so much for being part of our show today. This is your fourth
Uh,
time joining us.
Thank you. It's always fun.
What is
Thank
the most important thing for the audience to know about you and your business?
you. Ooh, the most important thing that I have their backs. I like to say I'm the wind beneath their wings, and I'm here to lift, inspire, empower, and really meet people where they're at.
I love
I
that.
think that's really, yeah.
Yeah. So, who is going to benefit the most from what you're presenting to us today?
I know in coaching we're not supposed to say everybody and anyone, but really when it comes to anti-inflaming your life, everybody deals with stressors. We all deal with habits. We all deal with angst, so it's really shifting what is into just thinking in terms of what could be better enhanced at this time.
Yeah. I love that.
So,
Yeah, and we are here to talk about inflammation, specifically reducing inflammation in our lives. Not just the physical impacts, the health related forms of inflammation, but the way that mind, emotion, finance, spirituality, social impact, environmental impact, all can impact our inflammation. Is that
absolutely.
correct?
That is absolutely correct. And I can attest from it first-handedly.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that. Tell us about your firsthand experience there.
Well, well, I don't think your listeners all know, but I had a major accident at the beginning of the year in Costa Rica where I went flying off the horse, and I can't say it was the most graceful landing by any stretch. But I was told chances are I wasn't going to be walking for a really long time. I'm walking. I'm not dancing and I'm not running, but I'm walking. And part of what I did was my mindset, part of a lot of what I do is from my coaching perspective is shifting perception. So I breathe, I'm a big advocate of breathing. And I shifted my perception and the pain was very excruciating. So I started looking at ways and means in anti-inflammatory my diet. And then what happened, and forgive me, I'm a little stuffy. I got a lot allergies and such going on. But I started looking at my diet, and then I realized when I was laid out, I'm like, the way we do anything is the way we do everything. So where else can I apply that theory? And I started looking at every aspect of my life. So I began this program, New Year, New Life. Why wait? Don't wait for the new year. The new year is now. When I was realizing that there's a chance that I wouldn't be walking. It's now. It's now. What am I going to do right here, right now? That's going to make a difference. And when I couldn't move my toes, it was like little baby steps, and that's how I started looking at my life. How do you transverse a mountain, right? The faith of a mustard seed, yes. And one little baby step at a time. You just keep moving forward. So, yeah.
Love that. Well, let's start with kind of the fundamental of mental, kind of the mind emotion connection to inflammation. How does our mental and emotional state or our well-being impact our physical health? What have you learned in that area?
Well, high stress and negativity. our emotions. If we don't get them out and we don't emote them, then your body is always talking. And from what you think about, you bring about. And if you are thinking negative thoughts, you're going to bring about negative results, right? All the time. And well, 9 times out of 10, you're going to create stress in your body. Stress is the number one killer here, especially in the States. Number one killer next to heart disease. Stress can cause heart disease. Stress can cause cancer.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that.
And it
So
can
when
lower
you're,
your immune system. And I know that the number three killer right now is COVID. So
yeah,
if you want a stronger immune system, that is definitely something to work on is your emotional and mental stress. What are
absolutely.
some practical or applied tips that you could share with us to help reduce those stress in our mental and emotional states?
First and foremost, I'm a firm, avid believer in breathing, right? It's free and we carry it around with us all the time. Deep breathing got me through the pain when I was in Costa Rica, and I always stop and pause. For me, it's the pause button because what happens on a neurological level is when you stop and pause and take that deep breath in and you're looking for clarity, you're actually pushing oxygen into your brain. And then on a spiritual context, when you're taking that deep breath in, you're taking in the freshness of life. When you're exhaling, you're getting rid of all that old cruddy stuff that doesn't, you don't want to hold on to anymore.
Yeah.
So breathing is number one. And then physical activity, get moving. Body in motion stays in motion.
Yeah.
Sleep, get plenty of
Yeah.
rest,
Move it or lose it, right? That's the
Exactly. Move it or lose it. Sleep, a lot of us, and I say us because I was one of those people that were burning the candle at both ends. And my hips really have taught me a whole lot more than I anticipated. And rest, relaxation, mindfulness meditation, like really sometimes just pausing. I find myself turning off my phone now, and it's like, but we can't reach you. It'll be there when I get there because right now my health is my wealth.
yeah.
So anti-inflaming the thoughts, reduce it is self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care, relaxation, as I said earlier, you know.
I visited a neurologist who was also very big into sharing the tips, the importance of breathing, and shared that if you breathe in through your nose, it actually lowers your overall cortisol levels because you're
Oh,
sending a signal to your brain, I'm okay. I have oxygen. It's the very basic of what we need as a human
absolutely.
being. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of breathing, as you know, because we do a breathing exercise before we go live.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of breathing. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to other areas that kind of support mental health, but also maybe we don't think about as much, like nutrition. How
Right.
can our diet choices really either promote or impact negatively our inflammation?
Well, sugar, number one. Sugar, it is. I did a study back in 98 because my daughter had learning challenges. And the study had showed that as a whole here in the States in particular, that we were consuming at the turn of the century, right, way back, approximately 4 to 5 pounds of sugar per person per year. Now, and back in 92, 98, when I did that, 98, when I did that, 92, when I did that study, it was up to 54 pounds of sugar per person per year. Sugar in your system is like literally, and it becomes addictive. It's like cocaine in your body.
Yeah.
So sugar, we create that habit of it. We can break the habit. Is it easy? No. So your sugars, your trans fats, your processed foods, get rid of them where you can and start thinking in terms of vegetables and fruits and whole grains and healthy fats will all support you in reducing inflammation.
Yes.
And some
Absolutely.
of the things that we don't think about, we don't normally talk about. The nutrition is what most people think about when they come to inflammation. They don't think about the other things. Adding turmeric to your diet, ginger, uh, tart cherries. Somebody just told me that recently. I haven't tried that one, but I'm going to. Fatty fish, your salmons, green tea. I'm drinking my green tea right now. Pineapple, mushrooms, right? Seeds and nuts. All by incorporating these foods and start switching out the old for the new, you'll find yourself very satiated and you're not hungry. You're not craving anymore, but it reduces your inflammation and your physical well-being in your body.
My recent, I just have to share there because I'm a diabetic. And I'm managing my sugar completely through diet now. I'm off
Mm,
of medication, which was a personal goal of my own of mine, and I
awesome.
worked with my doctor for it. One of the things that I am trying and has been really helpful for me for kind of making sure that I feel full all the time is rye flour. I make my own rye bread twice a week, and
Oh, huh.
I don't need to eat hardly, I've cut down the amount of food that I eat significantly just by
Love it.
having rye bread because I'm so full all the time. It's a slow digesting grain, and those whole
Absolutely.
grains are really good.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks. Thank you. Well, let's move away from the physical, the body, the mind, and emotion,
Uh,
kind of. And let's talk about financial stress because I think that financial stress is something that is practically unavoidable for people these days. And it must have some form of impact on our well-being, on our mind.
Absolutely.
What have you learned about financial stress and its contribution to overall inflammation?
Again, when we stress, it creates the release of cortisol, right? We want the dopamine release, which is the happy hormone. How do you do that? Awareness will support, and I go into that more, and I'll go into that more with the gifts that I'm offering. But when you stress, it's releasing cortisol into your body to every cell, which is attached to every organ, and every organ is going to be in ease or dis-ease. The choice is always ours. But the more you become aware, the more you're able to shift into choosing, and doing nothing is still a choice.
What are some steps for someone who's maybe they do have a lot of stress in their financial area? What's a first step to that someone could take to help de-inflame their financial area, realm there?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's creating a budget, becoming aware, right? Awareness is key. Creating an emergency fund, right? If you don't have an emergency fund, I have people say, but I can't afford that. $1 a day, $1 a week, something, it's compounded interest, right? I remember I had a friend who was a financial planner, and he says, Karen, just $50, whatever it was. Completely forgot about it. I had an automatic payment. I didn't miss it. $50. When I needed it for a down payment on a car, it was $6,000 over a short period of time. And it was there when I needed it. I hadn't thought about it. So consciously start thinking about ways to reduce debt. Like where are we just, we're get rid of society. What do they call that? There's a word for it. I can't think of it off the top.
Could the shoot now you infected me with I can't remember it.
But it's like
The
a toss away,
consumerism, right?
right?
It's the
So where can we reduce our debt and start looking into, I look at things now and it's like, is this a want or need?
yeah. Yeah,
If I
I
bring
think
a piece of clothes in, okay, what's going out? So now I make a okay, do I really need that new shirt? Well, I'm a woman, I like shoes and all that other good stuff. But okay, if I'm going to get it, something's going out. I commit to recycling it by donating it. There are people out there that could really use that stuff. That's more in the environmental aspect, but that's one way it's in me to doing it is seek financial advice.
yeah.
We don't know, right? Invest wisely, you know. And
That's so true. And it is also important to kind of manage your debt, right? Like looking at what the low-hanging fruit is. What debt could you eliminate if you just concentrated on it? That's
yeah,
also a really great way because then, it kind of steamrolls. If you've paid off a $500 debt that you
Exactly.
have, then the amount the money that you were paying towards that amount can go towards another one, and then that amount can go towards another one. The
Exactly.
I did that, and I did that a while back. It cleared out all of my credit card debt. It Boy, did it feel good to be able to just afford things flat out.
Right, exactly. It's called this, Dave Ramsey calls it the snowball effect, which is very powerful.
Yeah.
And that's much what you just described. So, those are resources, books. You can go to the library and get Dave Ramsey or go on YouTube and find. So there's ways and means we don't always think to stop, pause, and look at all these areas where we could reduce the amount of stress we have just by taking an action. And that's a simple action.
Yeah. One of the things that I just thought of is we're talking about all of these different areas of our lives, our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, um, our financial health. And there's a tool that a lot of coaches use called the Wheel of Life,
Mhm.
which examines which of these areas is causing you the most stress right now. And really
Exactly.
looking at that, and having practical tips to really identify which of those spokes of that wheel you want to work on can be really helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because
Well,
again, awareness is key. Awareness.
I want to go back to emotion, because it's my favorite topic. I love emotion. Um, and I imagine that emotion is really tied to inflammation, is really tied to our physical state. I imagine that inflammation itself may affect emotion and vice versa. It's
Absolutely.
probably a two-way street there.
Absolutely.
What what role What role does some of the buzzwords out there today of emotional resilience and emotional intelligence, what do they play in reducing inflammation and promoting well-being?
Well, emotional intelligence helps individuals manage their stress. Again, through awareness, it reduces the release of the stress hormones, the cortisol again, and it can lead to, by not doing it, it can lead to more inflammation in your body, right? The cortisol needs someplace to go, and it will start latching on to, heart disease and diabetes and cancer and such. So that's why I feel it's really important to at least look at ways and means and then choose, right? You can empower yourself, and it's all about creating new habits, right? We've been in the same rut of doing the same thing over and over again, the comfort zone. And a lot of people work out of fear, the fear of the unknown. Well, sometimes you go on vacation, you don't know what you're going to get into, but you have a fabulous time. It's the same context, because when you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change. So being resilient, right, enables people to bounce back from adversity, excuse me. So when I was in Costa Rica, I, thank goodness for the adversity, because and the training that I had, because instead of looking at it like, oh my God, the sky is falling, I was able to say, what am I, first off, what's the silver lining in this? And it sucked, I'm not gonna lie, I'm laid out in a foreign country and don't speak the language. But it was like, okay, what can I do with this? What can I build with this? I've got team management leadership training. How do I create a team? I'm going to deal with this. My team got me home, and it was like I started becoming resilient and really looking for different resources that were going to support me, which really supported preventing the chronic stress that I could have had in this space of like, oh my God, I'm in pain. I got to get myself home. I can't find an airlock together, and it really makes a difference moving forward. So, yeah,
And as a coach, I'm sure you have some practical exercises that you use to help people build resilience. You want to shed some light on some things that people could do if they need to improve their resilience?
absolutely. I'm a firm advocate. Actually, I don't believe in contracts, but what I do is I have a client agreement, and a couple of things that I request of my clients, and they actually initial it, is they're going to journal. Journaling is a powerful tool. I do more journaling with my clients around embodiment work. And the more you start, everything is energy. So if you look at it from terms of an energy, you're shifting the energy, right? To become resilient and emotions, you learn to emote the negative and embrace the positive by writing them down every day, every day, every day. You're now embodying more of whom you want to become, a future version of yourself, so to speak. And there's a whole series that really shifts the neurological and creates whole brain thinking that it's scientifically based. That's one of the things that I use. Mindfulness meditation, that pause button again, the self-talk, positive self-talk, affirming, and incantations, whatever it is that works for you. You don't have to do anything. Let me reframe this. It's really allowing yourself to start small where your brain can believe it, because your brain is programmed to look for evidence. So if you want to shift something, you start telling yourself something more to the effect of, I'm the kind of person who, right? Now your brain is looking for the positive, like what does that person do? Kind of thing, rather than I can't do this and oh my God, life sucks. No, I'm the kind of person who shows up every day. I'm the kind of person who is healing themselves. I'm the kind of person who heals others, and all of a sudden my brain starts looking for ways and means of having that be a new truth, right?
Yeah.
So your brain is wired for that.
Yeah.
So the more you tell yourself something negative, the more it's going to show up, more of the same. Stress management techniques, breathing again. Um, I don't like to use goals per se. I call them intentions. I set my intention every single day, every day, and I share it with two other people, because when two or more come together, so it is in my world. So I've been doing that for years like that. Emotional regulation, when you learn the tools and techniques, which is a train, right? We don't know what we don't know until we learn it. And that's part of what coaching is about. We train you, we teach you, we give you future context. So when and if it shows up, you're already prepared for the unknown in a sense. So that creates the emotional resilience that it's an ongoing process. It just does, it's not a one and done. It's like going to the gym, and the more you go to the gym, the more you pump that muscle, the more you're going to master it, and it's going to become second nature. That unconscious competence we talk about.
Yeah, and there's so many studies out there that show that just writing 3 gratitudes down in a journal
Absolutely. That's in my
actually rewires your prefrontal cortex to change the way that you tell stories to yourself that you believe, that help change how you interact with the world itself. So it's just fascinating. I could go off on this topic. We might have to explore that in the future. But before we get too weeded down into my passions, let's let's move on to the social, right? Um, this is the time of year for a lot of people where they feel exhausted by their social connection,
Yeah, yes,
where
exactly.
social connections might feel more like social obligations, but social connection is very important, and it does have a connection to inflammation. So I want to explore that for just a moment and find out how our social relationships really impact inflammation, and what social support structure does to help support a healthy body.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, first and foremost is, it always begins with self. I always start with self, from the as within, so without. And your outer world is going to be a reflection of your inner world. So, especially in relationships. So, if you're stressed out, you're going to stress everybody back out around you, right? So, I always, because I'm a communicator as well, I teach communication skills, active listening. Active listening. Most people don't know how to do that because their mind is going a mile a minute, going, what am I going to say next? Or how am I going to contribute to that conversation? And then you forget what they said because you're not listening, right? So it's really learning to be an active listener, which creates deeper connections. Um, Knowing your boundaries. Most people don't even know what they want, let alone what they know everything they don't want. But when it comes to boundaries, they won't say anything because God forbid we're not liked or we're not loved or, whatever that looks like. Conflict resolution. If you're sitting there pointing a finger at everybody going, you got three fingers coming back at you. You need to look at yourself, right? One of the things it's just like you said, it's gratitude, it's appreciation. Are you appreciating the people around you? People flock to that. They'd rather hear how you're appreciating them rather than what's wrong with them. So I'm a huge proponent of that. And get it, I mean, I hate saying this, but I'm a fond believer of this as well. And I've done it and it sucks, but it's sometimes you have to let go of those toxic relationships. I had a relationship for 30 years. I had to let it go because it was just not, it wasn't serving me. It was stressing me the heck out. And I had to let it go. And doesn't mean that I don't think about them and I don't love them. I bless it along the way. But you're the sum total of the five people you hang out with. Who are they for you? What are they for you? And are they lifting you up? Right. And then, of course, relationships being your community, right? Who are you hanging out with and what's your community? Are you serving? Are you not serving? And of course, there's always us, the coaches, that are there to lift you and guide you and really take you into the greatness of discovering the grit, the shiro or the hero within is what I like to say.
Love that. You know, um, we also want to talk about the environment and how what surrounds us impacts us, not just the people, which is the social, right? But the environment around us. You mentioned kind of purging clothing as you buy new things to add to your wardrobe because there's this environmental impact. And I want
Right.
to go just really quickly mention my very favorite TED Talk ever is a TED Talk called From Clutter to Clarity. It's by a woman named Thomas. And she talks about how to declutter your life and the impact of clutter on your life, um, that
Yeah.
clutter is postponed decision. It's picking up a piece of paper and not really deciding what to do with it, so you put it in a pile of other papers, and that has like a spiritual weight on us, that it holds
Yeah.
us down and prevents us from living our best life. I wanted to kind of get your input on that and how we live, how does that impact our inflammation?
As within, so without, right? So if you look and if you're really true to yourself and you look without judgment, right, which is really often challenging to do because we're in our head. But if you really take a deep breath and pause and get back into your heart, show some appreciation, and you look around your house and you see clutter around, where is the clutter in your life? So when you start looking in small steps, you don't have to like knock the whole house out at once, but small steps, like, commit to doing 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day in one little pile in front of you will make all the difference in the world because when you show up, you'll feel lighter. You'll feel less stressed. Get rid of the dust and the dander. I mean, it means picking up a vacuum now and then. Some people are so busy in life, they don't get around to doing the dishes in the sink. It could be small stuff like that. Organizing, donate, half the stuff. I know so many people who have like storage units that they have a second storage unit, and it's like hoarding. Do you need that stuff? You'll probably forget what's in there anyway, or
Yeah.
you've replaced it three times over. And what you're paying in a storage unit, you could have replaced all of that in no time. Unless it's sentimental, and some of the ways of decluttering, even the sentimental stuff, take a photo of it. We all have smartphones now. You'll carry that sentimental around with you all the time. Do you need that thing?
Yeah.
Let go of the attachments.
Yeah,
Right.
it's so interesting that you say that. This time of year, I'm always reminded of this time that my mother and I took all of my grandparents' photos. and
Yeah.
pulled them all out of their original little envelopes that they had gotten from the photo studio where they had them developed, and how many thousands of pictures they had of a sunset, a random sunset or a bird or something like that. Literally hundreds of pounds of photo paper that was
Mm,
tied to a physical moment that they were trying to capture.
right.
And it it just sat in a box, gathering dust and weighing things down.
Yeah.
So it is tremendously freeing to free yourself from those burdens.
Right. And just the just having space around you, free
Yes.
space without the little tchotchkes all over the place where you wherever you look, it's like, some people get off on that. Perfect, like knock yourself out. But remember when you have people walk into your space, they're gonna feel it. And if they don't keep coming around, what's in your space that's stressing them out?
Mhm.
And is it really something that's bringing you joy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That spark joy thing that was
It
so
is a
popular.
spark.
And it's so true. It's so true.
Well, you're releasing the dopamine when it brings you joy.
Yeah, absolutely. You are. And oxytocin if it's tied to relationship
Yeah,
memories,
exactly.
all sorts of good
Exactly.
hormones there.
All
Well,
good.
it sounds like there's kind of a holistic approach here, that it's not just one part of your life that is inflamed, that it's really the physical, the emotional, mental, social, spiritual, environmental aspects of your life that all contribute to this feeling of well being or um, an anti inflammatory lifestyle. Can you share some of your success stories of how you've embraced this holistic approach and experienced transformative results?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's funny you asked that because I just did a live video yesterday on my Facebook and Instagram account. And I had a client, Sarah, and of course I've changed the name. Um, have to protect the innocent, kind of. Sarah was a perfect example. She came to me. She was super stressed out, very sedentary life. She was not quite retired, but debate. She was just in her head and so stressed out she couldn't figure out what her next steps were at all. She had chronic inflammation issues, which caused a lot of pain for her. Um, we ended up working together for a time, and probably within 2 weeks session together, she really started shifting her perception because that's what I'm about. And once she started like seeing things different and what was possible, we started small steps. We started with the physical, right? And she started getting into an exercise routine, which included yoga and her brisk walks every morning. And she ended up meeting people along the way. So she started walking with other people, and she ended up doing the nutritional aspect of it, in increasing her vegetables and her fruits and her fatty acids. And then we stepped into the emotional aspect of it, where she started. Like I said, journaling is part of what I do with them because we really are shifting the neurons and creating a new identity in a sense, the future version of herself that she really wanted. So she learned and practiced mindfulness and meditation as well, did the journaling. And then she learned to respond to her challenges with greater calmness. Okay. And then we stepped into the mental after that. And after the mental, it was a lifelong learning, so she got really excited about reading new books and stimulating herself. I'm a firm advocate. Like when I get in the car, the first thing I do is I pop in a book on tape, whether it's learning something new or something in my field so I can give back, whatever it is, whatever stimulates you and keeps your mind active, right? Not just your body, but your mind. Then the socially, as I said, she started walking, so she was meeting people. She got involved. She was volunteering. I can't remember exactly where she was volunteering, but support groups. She got involved with support groups. So, of course, she hired me, and I was there to support her as well. And I make myself available. I don't want to say 24/7, but I have that time for my boundaries. The rest of the time, I'm there for them. And spiritually, well, the journaling and the meditation and nature walks. She started going in nature. She hadn't even thought about doing that. She started volunteering, and all of a sudden, she got a deeper sense of her purpose and being a contribution to the world. She was happy again. She cluttered her environment and she found peace within. And she was having people over, so she became social again. She lost some weight. She just, so her whole life transformed with this after decreasing her inflammation, and her emotional resilience improved as a result of it. So she was more connected to herself and her surroundings. And of course, the overall was her health and well-being. So
Sounds a
very
little bit
exciting.
like tuning a radio. That's a really
Yeah,
old analogy that a lot of younger generations aren't going to recognize, but you
right.
had to twist the knob just to the right spot and a slight little
Yeah,
hairpin turn to the left and you can't hear anything. But
yeah,
when you get it right on, your life becomes so much more crystal clear. You're so much more in tune with who
yeah.
you were meant to be.
Absolutely, because everybody is different, and everybody's path to holistic, anti-inflammatory lifestyle is unique. So again, you have to have an idea of, and sometimes it's discovery, and discovery can take a few sessions because we don't know what we don't know until we, get it
Yeah. The
excavated a
issue is
little.
never actually the issue. There's always something
Something
underneath it.
else.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I tailor it. I tailor it and approach it to their specific needs and their intentions.
I think that we could go on and on about this topic and just talk endlessly about it, but I think it's time to wrap up. So if you
Yeah.
were going to kind of give us a present that was all gift wrapped and everything, to summarize what you talked about today, what would that look like?
To your own self, be true. The more you know yourself, you'll also know others, and you'll live a happier, healthful, peaceful life.
I
Because
love
personal freedom, I don't know about you, but it's very important to me. But more importantly than all of that is your health, is your wealth. Without that, you can't do anything.
yes,
And I don't know about you, but I love life too much. So I want to keep living it the best I can.
love that. I understand that you are prepared to share a gift with us today.
I am. I am. Actually, I have a couple of gifts, actually,
Ooh,
depending what you want.
the experience, the season of giving and receiving.
It is, right? So I'm all about giving, and I'm really excited about giving this. Well, first off, if you go to my website, www.tranquilsolutions.com, I have a brand new PDF up there, which is all about anti-inflammatory living. And then to take it a step further, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, starting tomorrow, the 12 days of Christmas, I am going into each one of these categories in depth. Like I'm giving away the farm here. So in depth reflections, context, recipes. I mean, you name it, it's there in these books that I've created. So I've created all these things to support people moving forward because not only is your success my success, that it really I just when we're all happier and healthier, it's going to change the world.
It is.
So it's paying it forward.
It
So
is. I just realized I'd moved my mouse over the window. Sorry for the distraction there. Well,
yeah,
thank you, Karen, so much for being here with us today, for sharing your vision for living a healthier and happier life on all aspects of our life. Not
yeah.
just the physical, but also the spiritual, emotional, mental, financial, so much more. You've given us all a gift with your time, so thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure as always.
And thank you for watching today. This wouldn't happen without you in the audience. And if you wanted to give this forward, share it with someone who could really benefit from hearing about Karen's work, and spending just a couple of seconds to like this video, subscribe for more weekly content, and tune in next week, Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll see you then, and until then, bye.
Bye.